Last episode, we talked about when to automate. Today, we're talking about what to automate. Should AI replace the work your people are doing, or should it make them better at doing it? One answer creates leverage, the other creates resentment. Let's break it down. Welcome to Binary Business. I'm Will Guidry. This is episode 2. We're using the ABCD framework to break down one AI decision every episode. Audience, build, convert, deliver. Today's decision is one of the most politically sensitive choices operators face. Should AI do the work, or should it help people do the work better? This isn't about ethics. It's about outcomes. So let's get into it. Automate work or augment people? Here's the scenario most companies face. You've got a manual process that's slowing things down. Customer support is buried in tickets. Sales is spending hours generating quotes. Operations is reconciling data across 3 systems. You bring in AI. Now you've got a choice. Option 1, automate the work entirely. The AI handles the tickets, generates the quotes, reconciles the data. Your people move to higher value tasks. Option 2, augment the people doing the work. The AI drafts responses, suggests pricing, flags errors. Your people review it and finalize it. Most companies default to augmentation because it feels safer. Nobody loses their job. The team stays involved, and the transition feels gradual. But here's what I see happening. 6 months later, the augmentation approach creates a new problem. Your people are now AI babysitters. They're not doing the original work, but they're not doing higher value work either. They're reviewing AI outputs, fixing edge cases, and managing exceptions. That's not leverage. It's just a different kind of manual work. On the flip side, I've seen companies automate too aggressively. They replace the work entirely. The team feels threatened, adoption tanks, and the AI sits unused because nobody trusts it yet. So the question isn't which approach is better. The question is which approach fits the work you're trying to improve and the people that are doing it. Automate the work. Automating the work means the AI does the job from start to finish. No human in the loop, no review step. The AI completes the task and the outcome is delivered. Here's when this works. First, if the work is repetitive and rules-based. If the steps are the same every single time and there's no judgment required. If the inputs and outputs are predictable, automation works. Second, the volume is high enough that human review becomes a bottleneck. If you're processing 500 transactions a day and review takes 2 minutes per transaction, that's 16 hours of review work. You can't scale that. Third, the outcome is low risk. If the AI gets it wrong, the cost is minimal. A formatting error in a report is annoying. A billing error with a customer is expensive. When all 3 of those conditions are true, automate the work. Don't augment it. But here's what happens when you automate work that should be augmented. Your team feels replaceable. Trust erodes. People start resisting the AI because they see it as a threat, not as a tool. And when edge cases show up that the AI can't handle, nobody wants to fix them because they're already checked out. Automation creates leverage when it replaces low-value, high-volume work. It creates problems when it replaces judgment, creativity, or relationship building. Augmenting people means the AI assists, but humans make the final call. The AI drafts the response, suggests the next step, flags the error, then the person reviews, adjusts, and approves it. Here's when this works. First, when the work requires judgment. If decisions depend on context, tone, nuance, or relationship dynamics, augmentation works better than automation. Second, trust is still being built. If your team or your customers don't trust AI options yet, putting a person in the loop creates a safety net while adoption grows. Third, the work is strategic or customer-facing. If the outcome affects customer trust, brand reputation, or competitive positioning, you want human oversight. But here's the trap most companies fall into with augmentation. They think augmentation is safer, so they apply it everywhere. Customer support gets AI drafted responses. Sales get AI suggested pricing. Operations gets AI flagged errors. 6 months later, the team is drowning in review work. They're not doing the original task, but they're also not doing higher value work. They're just managing AI outputs. And here's the kicker. Because there's always a human in the loop, you never get the efficiency gains you were hoping for. You've added AI without removing the bottleneck. Augmentation works when judgment matters. It fails when it becomes permanent training wheels. So here's the real question. This decision comes down to two things: the nature of the work and the readiness of the people. Automate when the work is repetitive, high volume, and low risk. Augment when the work requires judgment, trust is still building, or the outcome is high stakes. And here's the part most operators miss. Augmentation should be temporary. If you're still augmenting the same work 12 months later, you're either automating the wrong thing or your people haven't built trust in the AI yet. Here's a quick note. If you find this useful, subscribe. I'm breaking down one AI decision like this every Tuesday and Thursday. Next episode, we're talking about whether AI should replace roles or redesign jobs. Same tension, different angle. All right, let's get to the ABCD. A is for audience. This is where you ask, who's affected by this decision and how do they perceive it? If you automate work entirely, the people doing that work will feel it first. If they see automation as a threat to their job security, adoption will certainly fail. If they see it as a relief from repetitive tasks so that they can do more interesting work, adoption accelerates. Here's the test. Ask your team, if AI handled this task entirely, what would you do with the time you get back? If they say, I don't know, or probably the same thing, you've got a trust problem, not a technology problem. Now, if you augment instead of automate, the audience shifts. Your team stays involved, but their role changes. They're no longer doing the work, they're reviewing AI outputs. That sounds fine until you realize review work is cognitively draining. It's harder to spot errors in something the AI generated than it is to do the work yourself. So your team gets fatigued, trust in the AI drops, and you end up with people redoing the work manually because they don't trust the review process. Here's the rule. If your team would rather do the work themselves than review AI outputs, augmentation isn't working. You're creating a new kind of friction, not removing it. The other audience question, who else is affected downstream? If you automate customer support responses, your customers are affected, period. If you automate pricing quotes, your sales team and your customers are both affected. If those audiences don't trust AI yet, augmentation might be the bridge until trust builds. B is for build. This is the systems layer. This is where you ask, what does the infrastructure look like for automation versus augmentation? Automation requires higher upfront investment. You need robust error handling, quality checks, fallback logic, monitoring. Because there's no human in the loop, the system has to handle edge cases on its own. Augmentation is cheaper to build, but more expensive to operate. You can launch faster because humans catch the errors, but you're paying for that human oversight indefinitely. Here's the mistake I see. Companies build augmentation systems with the intention of eventually moving to full automation, but they never do. Because once the augmentation is live, the team gets comfortable with it. And now you've got a system that's too expensive to run forever, but too embedded to replace. If you're going to augment, build with a transition plan. Set a timeline, say we're augmenting for 6 months while we build trust and improve the AI. After 6 months, we automate fully or we kill it. The other build question, what happens when AI is wrong? In automation, you need automated error detection and correction. In augmentation, humans catch the errors. That sounds safer, but here's the problem. Humans get complacent. After reviewing 100 AI outputs and finding 0 errors, they stop reviewing it as carefully. Then the AI makes a mistake, the human misses it, and you've got a failure that neither the AI nor the human caught. Build your review process with the assumption that humans will get complacent. Add random quality checks, track review accuracy, and make sure the safety net actually works. C is for convert. This is the revenue lens. This is where you ask, how does this decision affect the money? Automation creates leverage when it reduces cost or increases throughput. If you're processing 500 transactions a day and automation cuts processing time from 10 minutes to 30 seconds, that's 83 hours of capacity unlocked per day. That's real leverage. But automation also creates risk. If the AI makes a mistake and there's no human review, the mistake compounds. A pricing error that goes out to 500 customers is expensive. A billing error that delays payment across your customer base is a cash flow problem. So the ROI calculation for automation isn't just time saved. It's time saved minus cost of errors times likelihood of error. Augmentation reduces that error risk, but it also reduces the efficiency gain. If your team is reviewing every AI output, you're not going to get 83 hours of capacity back. You're likely getting about 40 hours back because review work still takes time. So here's the math most operators will miss. Augmentation makes sense when the cost of errors is high and the volume is low. Automation makes sense when the volume is high and the cost of errors is manageable. Let me give you an example. A client of ours was using AI to generate customer support responses. High volume, low risk. If the AI gets a response slightly wrong, the customer replies and the issue gets escalated. Cost of the error is pretty low. They started with augmentation. Support agents reviewed every AI drafted response before sending it. It worked, but it didn't scale. Agents were spending 4 hours a day reviewing AI outputs. We switched to a full automation with a safety net. If a customer replied within 5 minutes or rated the response poorly, it escalated to a human immediately. Response times dropped from 12 minutes to 45 seconds. Customer satisfaction stayed flat, and the support team shifted from reviewing 200 AI responses a day to handling 20 escalations a day. That's leverage. Automation delivers consistency. The same input produces the same output every time. That's powerful when consistency matters. Billing, reporting, compliance. But automation also delivers rigidity. If your business changes, if customer expectations shift, if edge cases increase, your automation breaks. And because there's no human in the loop, it breaks silently. You don't know it's broken until customers complain or the data looks wrong. Augmentation delivers flexibility. Humans adapt. They handle edge cases. They adjust tone based on context. But augmentation also delivers inconsistency. Different people review AI outputs differently. One person lets errors through, another person rewrites everything. Here's the question you need to answer before you choose. What matters more right now? Consistency or flexibility? If you're scaling, consistency wins. You want predictable outcomes. You want the same quality whether you're serving 100 customers or 10,000. If you're still figuring out the process, flexibility wins. You need humans involved so you can learn what good looks like before you lock it into automation. Here's the pattern I see most often. Companies augment when they should automate because they're afraid of the transition. They think augmentation is safer. But 6 months later, they're still stuck. The team is frustrated because they're babysitting AI instead of doing real work. The ROI isn't materializing because they're still paying for human labor. And the AI isn't getting better because there's no feedback loop. Humans are catching the errors, so the AI never learns from its mistakes. If you're going to augment, build the feedback loop. Every time a human corrects the AI, that correction should feed back into the model. Otherwise, you're just paying people to fix the same errors over and over. Here's the call. Most companies default to augmentation because it feels safer. It keeps people involved. It builds trust gradually and reduces the risk of AI errors. But augmentation only works if it's temporary. If you're augmenting the same work 12 months later, one of two things is true. Either the work actually requires human judgment and you should stop pretending AI can do it, or your team hasn't built trust in the AI and you need to figure out why. Automation works when the work is repetitive, high volume, and low risk. If those three conditions are true, automate it fully. Don't half-step into augmentation. But if the work requires that judgment, if trust is still being built, if the outcome is high stakes, augment first. Just set a timeline. Say we're augmenting it for 6 months. After that, we automate it or we kill it. Don't get stuck in permanent augmentation. It's expensive, it's frustrating, and it's not true leverage. Ask your team, if the AI handled this entirely, what would break? If the answer is nothing, then automate it. If the answer is customer trust or strategic decisions, augment it until those risks are manageable. And one more thing, don't automate to avoid hard conversations about roles. I've seen companies automate work because they don't want to tell someone their role is changing. That creates resentment. It tanks adoption, and it turns a technology decision into a cultural problem. If automation changes roles, have that conversation first. Explain what's changing, why it's changing, and what people will do with the capacity they get back. Augmentation without a transition plan is procrastination. Automation without role clarity is a political disaster. Do both with intention. Thanks for listening to Binary Business. If you want to score whether you should automate or augment a specific decision, grab the Binary Decision Scorecard. It's the same framework I use with clients to figure out where AI creates leverage versus where it creates new problems. The link's in the description. In the next episode, replace roles or redesign jobs. We're going deeper into the people side of AI decisions. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you're on YouTube, hit like if this was useful. This is Binary Business. All signal, no noise.